very good.
So purely by accident.
So that's how it started, called the music machine.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Very good. And from then, what did you start to venture into, and why did you venture into all these different fields of businesses?
Now, from the disco business, from which we, I must admit, we made a hell of a lot of money there.
Sure.
And as the years went on, I sort of looked at the market in Malaysia, and I also discovered that because of the then Made in Malaysia ruling, which demanded that all advertising on the electronic media, meaning radio and television, had to contain like 75 to 80% made in Malaysia content, which means that voiceovers must be Malaysian. If you shoot a film, the cameraman's got to be Malaysian, half the crew's got to be Malaysian, and so on and so forth. So I looked at the situation and said, hey, I think there's a demand for something here.
Okay.
And because prior to my leaving Rediffusion, I was actually the head of the film and sound division.
Okay.
So I had experience there.
Okay.
So I said to myself, because of this Made in Malaysia ruling, I can either go into a full-fledged production house, or I can go into a specialty field which I have experience in, which is audio.
Okay.
So then I got hold of my former staff
Okay.
at Rediffusion,
All right.
got them out and sat down over a plate of Hokkien mee on Jalan Pahang and said, why don't we get together and start up a recording studio to service this advertising industry, because the demand is so huge for Made in Malaysia elements. So that's what we started.
Okay.
We started one studio in Section 17 in PJ, and that has grown into the 12 that we have now.
Sure.
Yeah.
And of course, since then, you have also ventured into the food business. I understand by reading that one of the reasons because you love eating just like myself, and noticing good food is always something good. You have ventured into the F&B business. Share with us a little bit more about that business.
Actually, the Damansara Village Steamboat Restaurant isn't my first venture into F&B. I have actually had 3 F&B businesses before.
Okay.
The very first one, the very first F&B venture was a disco bar that I opened with a Sabahan friend of mine in Kota Kinabalu.
All right.
This was during the height of the timber boom.
Okay.
And there was loads and loads of money in places like Kota Kinabalu. And that was pretty successful. We ran that for about 4 years, I think. And my second venture into F&B was in a bar in Central Market, what is now the Central Market Annex.
Okay.
We opened a bar there called Alibi.
Okay.
Which, sad to say, was a venture which failed. Failed not in the sense that it remained in people's memory because it was a very stylish, very happening place.
Okay.
But unfortunately, due to some bad management and bad business decisions on my part, it failed to make money.
Okay.
But we had a tremendous time enjoying ourselves playing with it.
Okay.
And then the third one was when One Utama opened. We had a bar there of about 4,000 square feet. We opened a bar called Radio City.
Okay, I remember that one.
Yeah, and those 3 were way before Damansara Village. And Damansara Village came about not as an entrepreneurial idea of my own, but what happened was my second daughter, Melanie, and her husband, Jason, she had just gotten tired of working in a real estate company, although she was doing fairly well. She said, oh, I can't take this shit anymore. And her husband, Jason, had just lost his little F&B business in a theme park. Okay. And they were wondering what else to do, I want to go and get a job, and you've just lost a business. So they came to me and said, Dad, what do you think we should do? Why don't we start a restaurant? Okay. And they said, yeah, it's a good idea. Restaurant's a good business, but what kind of restaurant shall we start? Shall we start a Thai Chow or Western restaurant or bistro or whatever? So for a couple of months, we drove around KL, PJ, visiting and eating at restaurants. And then we came to the conclusion that in PJ, which was the area that we thought we would start the business, steamboat seemed to be very popular. Okay. So we thought, steamboat will be the way to go because it's fairly easy to start. It's not chef dependent. And we fortunately found a piece of land for which we leased, which is perfect for our idea. When we said we wanted to do a steamboat restaurant, my daughter and my son-in-law said, yeah, but steamboat restaurants, so many of them all over the place. So what is our USP? So we thought about it for a while and said, okay, let's sit down and decide on a USP. Then we came up with this USP, which said to us that it must not be in a shop lot.
Okay.
It must be of a certain size. It must have lots of greenery and give the ambience of dining al fresco.
Okay.
And when we found this piece of land, it was perfect for us to realize our USP. In that we landscaped it to look like a resort. We planted greenery all around it, and we had a little petting zoo area where children can come and play with bunnies and tortoises and all while their parents dine. And one important USP we decided was that unlike other steamboat restaurants, we would sell only live seafood.
Okay.
Until, I think I can safely say that until we came along, steamboat restaurants serve, for the most part, processed foods.
Sure, frozen.
And
processed.
frozen seafood and processed food like fish balls
Yep.
and stuff like that. We were the only one, I think we were the first one to oh, sorry.
No worries.
We were the first one to come up with steamboat featuring live seafood. You can actually go to the aquarium, pick, this is the crab I want, or this is the fish I want. And they'll clean it for you, and you put it into the steamboat pot. And very fortunately for us, our USP really caught people's imagination.
Sure.
Because up until that time, they had never experienced this before.